Good evening and welcome. I'm Carmen Colangelo, the Ralph J. Nagel Dean of the Sam Fox School of Design and Visual Arts. It's a real pleasure to welcome you here tonight to this year's Awards for Distinction as we celebrate with you both virtually and live from the Mildred Lane Kemper Art Museum. Thank you for being part of this wonderful event where we have the opportunity to recognize the accomplishments of our outstanding alumni and leaders who have had a significant impact in the fields of architecture, art, and design on our communities and the profession and on the Sam Fox School. We have a great program tonight, and as we begin, it is my privilege to recognize past award honorees who have joined us virtually this evening. They are Stephen A. Ben, Jennifer Bear, Carol Bentel, Bunny Burson, Jared Diwali, Yvette Dubinsky, Carl Grice, Vicky Matsuna, Sue Persnicki, Jean Snare, Lori Sperling, Andy Trivers, Cindy Weiss, and Casey Savalia. Tonight, we will add a new cohort of very talented alumni and friends to the roles of our awards for distinction. I'm excited to share their inspiring work and stories with you, and in the case of our alumni, how the Sam Fox School shaped their vision and their creative paths. We are celebrating the achievements of our alumni and paying special tribute to the remarkable accomplishments of our awardees tonight. They are Andy Bernheimer, Jill Downen, Kate Dundes Shattan, Adam Hogan, Megan Harris Lynn and Frank Lynn, Nicholas Kahn, and Richard Selesnick. It is also a special honor to present the Dean's Medal to KieranTimberlake, the architecture firm responsible for our extraordinary new building, Annabeth and John Weil Hall, and this beautiful addition to the Kemper Art Museum. Tonight we celebrate that our award winners are making a meaningful difference in the world. Like so many fellow alumni, our honorees are creating provocative works of art, instigating critical conversations, designing inspiring buildings, advancing sustainable practices, building community, and teaching emerging artists and architects, among many other achievements. And as they shape their own distinguished practices, they also contribute to building the Sam Fox School's reputation as a premier institution. It is a pleasure to have the opportunity to share our award winners' stories of ingenuity, of commitment, of perseverance, of hard work. These are the common and enduring threads that are woven through the history of the school and have laid the foundation for ongoing success. As we begin a new era, building on the work of earlier generations, we are poised to meet the most critical challenges facing our professions, including addressing climate change and the resiliency of our planet, responding to the world of artificial intelligence and digital transformation in almost every aspect of our lives, and strengthening our communities through strategic partnerships and initiatives of social and environmental justice. As we do this work and look forward, I want to recognize how important it is for the generations of students to come. We are setting the stage now for our future distinguished alumni who, like our honorees, will change the world for the better. It is now my pleasure to welcome to the podium Heather Wifter, the Director of the College of Architecture and Graduate School of Architecture and Urban Design, and the Sam and Marilyn Fox Professor.
Thank you, Carmen. Good evening. It is my pleasure to present the awards for distinction for the College of Architecture and the Graduate School of Architecture and Urban Design. We are thrilled to be here today to celebrate Andy Bernheimer, Kate Dundes Shattan, Frank Lynn, and Megan Harris Lynn. Their inspiring contributions are profound to the fields of architecture and design. The first recipient we are honoring today is Andy Bernheimer. This is not the first time that we have had the privilege of recognizing Andy's accomplishments. He also received the school's Young Alumni Award in 2003. Andy was a founding partner of the award-winning firm Della Valle Bernheimer, along with fellow alum Jared Della Valle. In 2009, Princeton Architectural Press published the monograph Think, Make on their practice. Andy's current firm, Bernheimer Architecture, is known for a wide variety of residential, civic, and cultural projects, including award-winning affordable housing developments in New York. Andy has also served as an editor of 2 books from Oro Editions, Timber in the City and the collection Fairy Tale Architecture, which he co-edited with his sister, Kate Bernheimer. Andy is based in Brooklyn, where he is an associate professor of architecture at the Parsons School of Design. In 2018, he was elevated to the College of Fellows in the American Institute of Architects. Our second award recipient is Kate Dundes Shattan. Kate is a partner and co-founder of the New York-based firm Gustavson Dundes Architecture and Design. Attention to detail has been and continues to be a critical component of the firm's philosophy and a primary reason for its continued success. For the past 37 years, they have provided a comprehensive range of design services to both residential and commercial clients, specializing in renovations, new homes, and innovative and sustainable commercial spaces. Their commercial projects have included work for Morgan Stanley, JCPenney, McDonald's, Estee Lauder, Sheridan, and Liberty Travel. Kate has served on the MIT Council for the Arts and the Finance Committee of the New York chapter of the AIA. For the last decade, she has been an extraordinary member of the Sam Fox School National Council, which we thank you for. Finally, it is my honor to present the recent Alumni Award to Frank Lynn and Megan Harris Lynn. In 2014, Frank and Megan found Coexist Studio, a residential architecture firm in Austin, Texas. Their work makes a conscious effort to understand and integrate site context, human experience, and rich contextual materials. They design to tell a story that can enhance the connections between people and the spaces that they inhabit. Through their multifamily designs in East Austin neighborhoods, they focus on maintaining the integrity of community fabric while also addressing the need for density in a housing crisis. Coexist was recently recognized as one of the top residential architects by Austin Home Magazine, and the firm's award-winning designs have been featured in Dwell and Modern Homes of Texas. Please join me in congratulating all 3 recipients in architecture, whom we will hear from now.
I decided to become an architect almost by accident. I was actually studying art history in undergraduate, and I thought I wanted to be an academic, an art history professor. And I realized that in taking art classes, in drawing, that I could synthesize the historical interest that I had in architecture with art. And so architecture seemed to be a kind of perfect synthesis of both studying art history and precedent and also being able to be creative. I have some very, very distinct lessons that came out of studying at WashU. I had really incredible professors, though I did spend a lot of time looking at these kind of inspirational images, unbuilt architecture while I was in school. Those teachers all sort of instilled in me a really important tenet, which was to build your ideas. And again, one of the things I most appreciated about learning at Washington University was how the students could just express themselves. And that's nice because when you get out into practice, there are all sorts of constraints that we don't learn about and that we actually shouldn't learn about in school when we're trying to open our minds to ideas. I'm working really hard on this with my own students, is to not spend too much time sitting at your desk drawing. It's sort of a flood of memories coming back about all this stuff I did because I spent like 18 or 19 hours a day in Gibbons Hall, which is not the healthiest thing to do, but I sure did love it. My teachers at WashU were perfect. I am still very close to my teachers who taught me at WashU. I am who I am probably greatly because of those teachers. I owe a lot to my family, my parents, obviously, who encouraged me to pursue kind of anything I wanted to do. No pressure to fit into any mold, just to do anything I want to do. And having the privilege to be able to do that is a huge thing that I never really appreciated. The last 15 to 20 years, my wife has been incredibly supportive of what I do. And I have to say, everyone who's ever worked with me, it sounds like I'm just thinking everyone on earth. It sounds so silly. Again, I go back to the idea of collaboration, and you learn that architecture, while you're in school, you're working as an individual typically, sometimes collaboratively, but mostly as an individual. You're being taught as a person to go out into practice. But when you get out into practice, you can't make architecture without dozens and dozens and dozens of people. And that's an amazing thing to learn. So that means that when you thank people, you need to probably have a lot longer than, say, just a minute or two to thank all those people.
I knew when I was in high school that I wanted to be an architect. I lived in New York City, and I was surrounded by buildings, by urbanity, urbanness, and I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. I really would have to thank my father. He was such an influence on my life, both in the fact that he was connected to the design business, and he was such a force of nature and had so many great interests. And to me, when I was a little girl, the greatest day of my life was when I had a day off from school and I could go to the office with my father. And from that moment on, I knew I was going to be my own boss one day. And really, that's what started me in my career. There are two architects that I truly revere for different reasons. Kahn, because of the control, both the classical and modernness of his work and how he combines them, how he worked with materials and understood them. And then I would say Calatrava, because I have a deep love of bridges. And although he's done other work, I think that is his greatest work. To me, bridges represent everything that is pure in architecture. My clients are the most influential people in my work at the moment. We have to please the client, we have to solve the problems, but really the inspiration has to come from that collaboration with the client, and that is really key. For me, when I come back to school, I feel like I'm coming home. And those hallways that we spent so much time in, the studios that we spent so much time in, are really imprinted in my memory. I've had a very long and wonderful relationship with WashU. Not only was it a place I called home when I was an undergraduate there, but then after I started on my career and became somewhat established and had more time, had a family, I went back to sort of reclaim WashU and my relationships there, and everybody was still there. Each dean has felt like my own, to their credit, because they have embraced the WashU alumni community in such a wonderful way. And so I have felt that inclusion throughout, I'm almost embarrassed to say how many years I have been a part of the school and the community.
What inspired me to pursue a career in architecture was I really grew up around art. My grandfather was an artist. Actually, the painting behind me right now is something that he painted. And my dad liked to draw. Just grew up around art, and it really inspired me.
When I was a young kid, I loved to draw. I love art. I love building blocks. When my mom saw that, she really encouraged me to pursue that passion and pursue the field of creativity. So when we moved to the United States, when I was age 12, I came across a set of blueprint of my dad's business. And that's when I realized I can combine art and architecture and cross-discipline that field and create something more tangible kind of arc in the real life size. So architecture became a passion for me, and that was the building block how I started the career.
Collaboration at WashU was just so wonderful. A lot of the people that we went to school with, we still keep in touch with. It really takes a lot of minds that work together to make a great idea. That has gone into even when we do our practice now. Our environment at our office is very collaborative. Even Frank and I, since we're married, we always have to find ways to collaborate and work on things. And that started from the very beginning at WashU, where we met each other. We were best friends first, and we worked together on projects. And from there, we've kind of brought that same mentality into our workplace. If there's something that Frank doesn't like, and what I'm doing, or vice versa, we always question what we're doing. And it's not until we both come together and think that it's something that both of us are invested in love, then it really makes a great idea. And we've just really found that just makes our projects stronger, our collaboration stronger, and just the work environment with all the other people in our office feel like they have an invested interest in our projects as well.
I think the most important thing I learned from WashU at the time I was there is the critical thinking about the past of architecture and also the future. The one person who really influenced me will be someone called Kim. He really taught me about experimental architecture. How can we explore new shape, new ideas, new type of construction method to kind of challenge our experiences in this world. So for example, one of our projects called the Inverse House, we explored the idea of the traditional gable roof and using the ideas and deconstruct that geometry and also combining with the Gaudi's catenary curve concept to redesign and re-engineer your traditional floor truss and roof truss to a different shape. And by doing so, we're able to give the appearance of the building to be a period lightness to it. So that idea, that thought process is something that we always push through our practice in our firm, the way we work, the way we collaborate with each other. So I think that was the thing that I can take away from watching university.
In residential design, there's something amazing that happens because we get to design homes that people live in for a long period of time. A place where people can create memories and grow up with their children. It's really an honor to be able to design spaces in that way, and we take that very seriously. We always try to design from a human experience and how people function in spaces. Residential for us has just been a wonderful honor to do.
We really appreciate and value the education that we receive through Washington University. It's the way that the professor and the school taught us the critical thinking, again, also for what we've seen so far through the applicants that come in through our door, you can truly understanding that WashU really takes some time and curate all the education to make sure that every student that will leave Washington University have the experience and have the portfolio and able to market themselves in a way that I think every firm will desire to have. And we're very blessed to have multiple applicants coming through our door. For us, is continue build upon our personal practice, at the same time really vocalize what Washington University have brought to the design community.
Okay, so please welcome Andy Bernheimer, Kate Dundes Shattan, Frank Lynn, and Megan Harris Lynn. Come on up.
My name's Amy Hauft, and I'm the director of the College of Art, and I'm the Heitzman Professor of Art. It's my honor to introduce the 2022 Awards for Distinction recipients for the College of Art. The art and design alumni we recognize here today demonstrate outstanding accomplishments across a range of practices, and we're very proud to celebrate their work with you. This year's recipients are Jill Downen, Nicholas Kahn, Richard Selesnick, and Adam Hogan. In just a moment, you'll have the opportunity to hear directly from these artists. Our first award recipient is Jill Downen. Jill's work moves fluidly between drawing, model making, and immersive sculptural installations, in which she envisions a symbiotic relationship between the human body and the built environment. Their most recent series, titled Speak Truth, recently on view at the Bruno David Gallery here in town, addresses the complex ways people anchor, navigate, and orient themselves within this age of disinformation. Jill's many honors include a Guggenheim Fellowship, our own Stone and DeGeer Contemporary Art Award, and residencies at Mass MoCA, the MacDowell Colony, and the Ragdale Foundation. They've created site-specific installations for the Contemporary Art Museum St. Louis, Oklahoma City Museum of Art, and the American University Museum, among others. The public artwork, Architectural Folly from a Future Place, was given to Kansas City by the Kemper Charitable Trust and remains on permanent view there. Jill is the chair of sculpture at the Kansas City Art Institute and represented by the previously mentioned Bruno David Gallery in St. Louis. Our second recipients are Nicholas Kahn and Richard Selesnick. Nicholas joins us via live stream this evening from France, and Richard is here in person to receive the honor for both of them. Kahn and Selesnick create whimsical and elaborately constructed photographs, drawings, and sculptures that engage their love of costumes, props, and artistic time travel. They create complex fictional narratives based on real historical events, injected with wry humor, meanwhile sparking new considerations of received history. Over the course of their 35-year collaborative career, Kahn and Selesnick have participated in hundreds of exhibitions and residencies around the world, with 6 monographs having been published on the work. That work has been collected at numerous museums, including the Brooklyn Museum, the Philadelphia Museum, the Houston Museum, and the LA County Art Museum. The duo have won multiple grants, including the Paula Krasner Foundation grant and the Green Leaf Award for ecologically themed art at the Nobel Peace Center in Norway. Our final recipient receiving the recent Alumni Award is Adam Hogan. Adam is an artist, cinematographer, researcher, and advocate for film and media preservation. His work engages formal and experimental approaches to the moving image and sound, exploring how media technologies shape our perception of and relationship to space. Adam is also a prolific collaborator with other artists. He served as director of photography for What We Left Unfinished, the notable documentary feature by Mariam Ghani. His work and collaborations have been featured in numerous festivals, exhibitions, and collections, including at the Smithsonian, the Metropolitan Museum, Sci-Fest 13, Athens Digital Arts Festival, and Doc NYC. Also of note is his work with Laura Strayton, also here this evening, and their Artist Tape project that works to save new media works and experimental film through preservation and restoration. Adam currently serves as Assistant Professor of Art and Head of Experimental Media Arts at the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville. Congratulations to all 4 of our recipients in art. We are excited to share more about these distinguished alumni. I know you will enjoy hearing from them directly.
The thing that inspired me to pursue my career as an artist was identity, really. I always knew I was an artist. I was one of those unusual children that knew I was an artist at 5 years old. So there was never a question of what I was going to do. I would say that choosing a career as an artist for some folks is not a choice. It's a journey. The most important thing I learned as an MFA student at Washington University was critical thinking. And it was time for my first critique. And Professor Arnie Nadler said the day before, "Are you nervous, Jill?" And I said, "Yeah, a little bit." And he says, "You don't need to be nervous." But I remember after that critique, Arnie and also Professor Ron Lex coming into my studio and both of them sitting down with me and saying, "Okay, Jill, what's up with the grid?" Because all of my sculptures at that point relied on the structure of the grid. And I said, "Well, the form is the content." And they said, "No, it isn't." And that was the moment that Arnie and Ron really cracked open my mind and my mindset and opened up a world of possibility for me. Architecture really is an expression and an extension of who we are. And I see the fine arts and architecture as sharing a lot of common ground in that area, particularly with material understanding. What is the art made out of? I use plaster, concrete, lumber. I see plaster as a very skin-like material. It puts off heat when it's setting up. It puts off moisture. It feels like it's sweating. It feels like skin of a person who's sunbathing and soaking up the rays. It's a very living kind of material. Lifelong learning is such a joy. It enriches the life. And my opportunity to go to Washington University, after 10 years in the workforce from my BFA just meant the world to me. That 2 years was a time in my life where I ran fast. I soaked up every single opportunity that was placed in front of me. I wanted to squeeze everything out of the fruit and take it with me. And that experience is just a major pivotal point in my life and in my career. And the people that I met were passionate and caring and challenging and expected excellence. And I loved every minute of it.
My on-campus job was at the Art and Architecture Library, and I would spend most of it researching, going through every book in that library and deciding what appealed to me and what could be useful in our own work.
My favorite memory at WashU, not long after I first met Nicholas, we took a trip into Forest Park and went exploring on some of the rock formations. And we found a certain area where there are a lot of loose stones. And we just started building little stone alignments and stone circles together, creating this kind of almost like this little kind of spontaneous installation. I don't know that either of us were necessarily thinking of collaboration before that, but that suddenly seemed twice as fun as if one had just been on one's own.
What followed on from that first experiment with making little stone circles was we would go out together and get bigger stones and trees, like old Christmas trees that people had thrown away, and started building cardboard architecture from the 18th century and setting this up in our shared apartment. Each of us had a view in one direction and would help the other person build their sets. And I remember we would invite our friends over and get them dressed up in the costumes we were making, setting these scenarios up. And I had a pet rabbit for a period that would run around the set where through these stone circles, these alignments going on in the apartment, not unlike the scenes that we continue to create with our friends these days for our various panoramic scenarios.
Our collaboration, in a way, it's pretty kind of unformulaic. One of the key things to avoid in having probably any kind of long-term relationship with someone is you don't want to get too pigeonholed into doing one kind of task.
It's always been a joy when each of us goes off into our own worlds and spaces, part of the rule system that we've agreed on after months of working out that. And we show either online or in person new developments to each other. And it's like there's two of us who've created one world. we're being surprised, and it's totally magical and fun that you can have things appear in your artwork that you didn't personally create, but that seem completely something you wished you created.
To me, looking back from our slightly advanced years at this point, it does seem like all the things that we've been interested in exploring, obviously, it was like innately there before we were at WashU. But WashU really brought it all into focus. And the things we were interested in there, and that both the time and the institution allowed us kind of access to, and the professors introduced to us, it's all the stuff that we've worked on since. Seems kind of amazing in retrospect.
What inspired me the most to go into digital media or cinematography? I think I've always been sort of interested in digital systems and systems in general. Early on in undergraduate, I was making music, I was recording tracks, I was filming skateboard videos, all separate from the sort of sculptural work that I was doing. And then as I left and transitioned into going to WashU, a lot of that started to coalesce together. And I was sort of realizing through the courses I was taking there and through the things I was being exposed to, especially in Professor Monika Weiss's course, that I could collapse all of those things together and that they could actually become a pretty interesting hybrid digital practice. The most important thing that I learned as an MFA student at WashU was really that sense of community. When I was there, I was part of, at the time, what was called the Collaborative Technology Center. It was sort of this moment where I was able to put together a lot of the expertise and the knowledge that I had with helping to build another community around that with several of the other people there, but also just trying to create a space to really ask those sort of questions to the technology and provide that to a community. And that's something I continue to do now. It's something I carried with me when I went to DX Arts, and it's something that I do here at EMA at the University of Arkansas. My practice sort of breaks down into a few different main categories. I have my work as an artist that's sort of independent and collaborative projects. I also have my work as a cinematographer and director of photography for, other productions. And then there's this sort of stewardship and development side of my practice as well. And the thing that I really enjoy about being a research-based artist is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a singular part of that equation. It is the fact that the thing I enjoy the most is that I can move between all of these fields. The thing I'm probably the most proud of in my career is I've been able to collaborate with a lot of really great artists. Because for me, the medium, it's never been about my own sort of identity within that medium. It's always been about the work itself and coming together to try and create something really interesting. It's sort of hard to believe how much time has passed since I actually was there at WashU. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. I still very much think about my time there, and it influences the way that I ask questions and the things that I read and the things that I reread. And in a lot of ways, I find myself influenced by my time there.
If Jill and Richard and Adam can come up.
And we're mailing Nicholas. Nicholas will get his email.
Well, that was amazing. We had a chance to spend time together, and it was so inspiring to meet and engage with this group. So once again, let's hear for all of the winners for distinction. Now it is a great personal honor to present the Dean's Medal. Each year, at our Awards for Distinction event, the Sam Fox School bestows its most prestigious honor, the Dean's Medal, on an awardee who has advanced the fields of architecture, art, and design, and whose efforts have significantly enriched the life of the community and of the school. So we're breaking tradition just a bit this year, honoring not just an individual, but a firm. The internationally recognized team for KieranTimberlake played a key role in the transformation of the East End, which you've been experiencing today, including our amazing new building, Annabeth and John Weil Hall, and this stunning addition to the Mildred Lane Kemper Art Museum, as well as the Summers Welcome Center and the Schnucks Pavilion, not to mention the parking. You've all experienced the parking. Tonight is my distinct pleasure to award the Dean's Medal to KieranTimberlake with special recognition for a dedicated team, James Timberlake, Richard Mayman, Marilia Rodriguez, and Nick Sillies. KieranTimberlake was founded by James Timberlake and Stephen Kieran in Philadelphia in 1984, and they have built a prominent reputation for research, innovation, and inventive design. Their work has been described as beautifully crafted, thoughtfully made designs that are holistically integrated into site, program, and people. The firm has received over 200 design citations and awards, including most recently the 2022 AIA Architecture Award for the stunning U.S. Embassy in London, and the 35th Louis I. Kahn Award from the Center for Architecture and Design, honoring the most influential and accomplished architects from around the world. I distinctly remember our first meeting with KieranTimberlake in Philadelphia, which soon yielded an impression of intelligence, careful consideration, and graciousness. I also remember you meeting us at Dilworth Plaza in a warm bus, nice coffee, a big Google map, and James drawing the campus with his eyes closed. All true, pretty well. So these are the qualities that ultimately came to define our working relationship. The projects that James and Richard shared that day with us on the first visit were innovative and elegant in their simplicity, sensitivity to their surroundings, and ambitious in their approach to resiliency. They engaged our group in dialogue with their team in ways that were insightful and constructive, and demonstrated their ability to listen to our vision and iterate ideas to meet the needs of all members of our community. The design process for both Weil Hall and the addition to Kemper Art Museum were built on mutual respect, and KT was generous in their approach to working with our faculty, our students, staff, National Council, and key stakeholders. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the leadership of WashU facilities in this process, particularly our university architect, Jamie Coker, who's with us here tonight, and his excellent project team, and just hundreds of people involved in this amazing project, and maybe thousands. I most especially want to recognize the importance of our key stakeholders throughout the entire design process. Annabeth and John Weil were actively engaged from the start to the finish, including serving on the Architectural Selection Committee. You smile at Annabeth. Likewise, David Kemper and the Kemper family were important voices in the development of this inspiring and functional space. In some ways, Annabeth and John Weil seemed to rise quickly from the ground, but the building was a long time coming. It was the physical manifestation of the Sam Fox School's 2008 strategic plan to locate art, architecture, and design together in proximity with the museum, and allowed us to bring all of our students back to the Danforth campus and to grow and thrive as one school and a unified community. As we continue to live in Weil Hall, the experience of the building unfolds in unexpected and remarkable ways. Natural light comes in through the glass walls, and the students across disciplines meet using the studio and making spaces, or they're relaxing under the living wall in Keener Court, or pausing for lunch in Weil's Commons. The transparency and serendipitous interactions fostered by the building elevate the whole character of the school, allowing the kind of flexibility and collaboration we long hoped for. This significant addition to the Kemper also lived up to the promise to provide more space for our stellar permanent collection, to stretch our ability to host major exhibitions and public events, to properly greet and steward guests, and with the natural light limitations of the new, to provide a connection with the campus's dynamic Tisch Park, which you've seen out here today, and also in dealing with the natural light limitations of the new James M. Kemper Gallery space. KT designed a 34-foot tall, pleated, polished stainless steel facade that offers a brilliant solution, literally, and a gesture that reflects the sky and landscape in the most fantastic ways throughout the seasons. Praise came quickly for the East End transformation. All 5 of the new buildings achieved LEED Platinum status, the highest possible designation, and a demonstration of the commitment of the school and university to sustainability. When I reached out to James to let him know that KT had been selected for the Dean's Medal, he said that an engaged client reaps the very best work and effort from KieranTimberlake. And in Washington University's case, and especially the Sam Fox School, this proves to be true. I agree. This did prove to be true, but it required a great architect and design team and an incredible commitment from many visionary people. On behalf of the students, the faculty, and staff who learn, teach, and work in Weill Hall and the Kemper Art Museum, I'll confirm that it was an extraordinary collaboration and effort, and we look forward to engaging with these spaces for generations to come.
Well, a lot of people around here don't want to believe me when I tell them that I wanted to be an architect since I was age 5. I became very interested at those ages and was drawing, which evolved into obviously going to architecture school, going to graduate school, going to the American Academy in Rome, and then, of course, starting to practice here after working for Robert Venturi and Denise Scott Brown.
I've wanted to become an architect since I was a little kid. And it's funny because I didn't know any architects. I mean, maybe one on TV or in the movies, but I did not know it. I liked buildings. My parents were very city oriented.
I've always been really interested in the impact of spaces in people's lives, like buildings and public spaces that were very much part of my childhood, and how those spaces sort of formed my memory of Brazil and my home.
I've always enjoyed how people use space, how they exist in space, how they interact with space. It's something that's fascinated me since I was a little kid.
Well, I'm very proud of the practice we've built and the outcomes that have come from the practice, and that would include the East End project at Washington University.
What was really important to us and reinforced by the university trustees was that each of the buildings that we were designing have a familial quality that seemed like WashU, contemporary buildings, lots of glass, but rooted in the sense of place. But at the same time, each is distinctive and they each have their own character.
5 different buildings all fit together into one end of campus and all connected below grade with a parking garage that spanned 2 different floors. It really was a complex puzzle piece of trying to fit in the new with the old. Finding that right balance, finding the physical space to put everything truly was a challenge and something that I truly enjoyed working on in solving that puzzle piece.
You know, it's clear when you walk through that campus that it was an incredible transformation, not only from what it was as a prior site, but also how it impacts, the various programs, the Sam Fox School, the, admissions and student financial services, the engineering school, just overall, just the impact that it had on the users as well as the campus as a whole.
This was a site that was hundreds of surface parking lots for generations. A place that now people would walk onto, let's say an 18-year-old coming to the Summers Welcome Center, applying to college and seeing this lush, green, verdant space full of pedestrian activity and bicycles. It's a place full of cars. So I would say the first great space is Tisch Park.
My favorite space at Weill Hall is the main interconnecting stair. I kind of always imagine it in section when I walk up the stair as an architect. I can't disconnect myself from the drawing that was sort of initially done that brings, the studios and the fabrication space and the center court and the conference space, and all these pieces are sort of coming together and visible, and you kind of walk around it and feel it as you're going up into the building.
Those that arrive in the garage, their jaw must drop, because arriving in that garage is unlike any parking garage anywhere that I've been in. And part of it's due to the loft that we were able to create with BNIM. There's a grandeur to that most garages don't have.
Projects like this happen because there's a strategic plan and a vision. And we were fortunate to come at the right time to take that vision and make it a reality. And we're very proud and very much appreciative of that opportunity.
Architects, facilities, the Sam Fox School, university leadership, everyone worked together to define in order to really make that happen.
I think the result, Weill Hall, is a product of really intense focus from all involved on creating something that was truly unique, truly fitting to the Sam Fox School in Washington University.
A project like Wustl took thousands of people, all of which contributed as a team, not to mention over 30 people in our office beyond Richard and Marilia and myself and Nick Sillies, to BNIM, to all the associated architects and the consultants. Thousands of people helped to make that campus beautiful.
So now I would officially like to present the Dean's Medal to James Timberlake on behalf of KieranTimberlake. We're going to give it to him in a plaque because I don't have to reach over his neck. But this is for all of you.
I love it.
So thank you.
It's beautiful. Thank you. So Carmen said 2 minutes. I'm sorry, but it's not going to be 2 minutes. But I will try and shorten it because you did cover a couple of things that I wanted to cover. So, first of all, I just want to thank Dean Colangelo and the trustees, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. And on behalf of my partners, Richard and others, principals, staff, and the whole of KieranTimberlake, thank you for this Dean's Award. These are supposed to be brief remarks, but bear with me. Nearly 3 decades ago, Steve and Kieran and I, after presenting a competition scheme for Mr. and Mrs. Sam Fox, which we unfortunately did not win, walked onto the Washington University campus, designed by the Philadelphia architects Cope and Stewartson, for our first visit to see the art, architecture, and planning that we had all read and heard so much about. From that day forward, we aspired to have a project there. Over the next quarter century, we saw opportunities, but it never seemed to be ours or the university's time to work together. We began to wonder if that opportunity had passed by us. That changed significantly 6.5 years ago. 3 pivotal moments occurred. First, after an invitation to submit from university architect Jamie Kolker and the acceptance of our initial submission, a selection committee representing Wustl, including Dean Colangelo, Hank Weber, Jamie Kolker, John and Annabeth Weil, Roxanne Frank, and faculty representatives, and I know I'm leaving some people out. Kieran came to visit us in Philadelphia. KieranTimberlake had just moved into our new offices in the old Ortlieb's bottling plant in Northern Liberties months prior. It was a propitious and pivotal moment for us and the university, because at those initial meetings, a common bond and trust began that has culminated in this event this evening and the receipt of this high honor bestowed by you upon this team and firm. A second pivotal moment was during the interviews, was when Andy Newman approached me after our interview phase lecture and inquired, might we think about working on all of the buildings at the East End, not just simply Weill Hall? That we have the scale, the depth of team, and the experience to be able to do that. Not forgetting my Aesop's tales of the dog with two bones, I offered this reply. My answer to Andy was definitively affirmative, but I remember noting to him that we had come to interview for Weill Hall and that our eyes were singularly on that particular opportunity. But if the trustees saw to it that they would consider us for the larger project, we would be honored and ready to take it on. The third pivotal moment was shortly after the selection, and many of the trustees, but notably David Kemper, Andy Newman, and several others, along with Chancellor Mark Wrighton, Hank Weber, all asked whether this project could be completed in the time frame to their aspirations and on budget. You can have two of the three, but you can't have all three, it seems. They weren't in this to fail on any part, not in a small order, and they wanted to make sure in their own wonderful way what their expectations were. In nearly 40 years, from the smallest and most modest of projects to the largest and most aspirational projects, from housing in India to the new U.S. Embassy in London, KieranTimberlake has never passed up a challenge. We have always worked tirelessly to make whatever project, opportunity, or outcome better and greater than it was before we got involved in it. KieranTimberlake, the university, and the Sam Fox School were brought together for this moment. There has been much serendipity in our ability to achieve aspirational outcomes, and notably here, it is important to say that so many at the university, including those I've mentioned, worked tirelessly before we came to this project to prepare a groundbreaking master plan and program scale and manage the budget and engage the fundraising efforts to support it to ensure success. Kudos to them and to the talented landscape architect Michael Ferguson and his team who preceded us and then graciously collaborated with us to achieve this vision. Beyond them, as I mentioned in the video, to achieve that vision literally took 1,000 people or more, and their collective intelligence, not the singular intelligence of one individual, but a highly motivated and collaborative team. And Carmen mentioned many of them, and I won't go into the rest of them here. But what have all of you with us achieved? A completion of a masterful master plan vision to transform the East End from a vehicle-dominated campus to a vibrant, pedestrian-oriented landscape and anchoring the Sam Fox School's place within it. Support of our team for contemporary and highly sustainable buildings, led by Weill Hall, a centerpiece of the Sam Fox School that learns history from the campus and its 120-year traditions, extending from Cope and Stewartson's original plan, while bringing a new energy, spirit, and sense of welcome to this campus. Willingness to express the language of the university in a 21st century contemporary way, with a focus on transparency and natural light, revealing activity and promoting connections between architecture and landscape, interior and exterior, expressing a vision of the institution as forward-looking, forward-thinking, again, led by Weill Hall and the Sam Fox School. And of course, fostering a collaborative spirit among many participants and the many good ideas from a variety of sources, such as supporting a preliminary strategy for a contained exterior court at Weill Hall into an interior landscape space that became the Keener Court, a daylight-filled new center for the Sam Fox School. It wasn't in the program, but all of you saw your way to it and to the merits of it. And I walked over to Sabina and David Kemper just before these remarks and said to them, our original vision for this room over here was wrong. They had it right. They asked us to make this work in a way that's turned out this way, and we're grateful for that kind of engagement and that ability to have that kind of conversation. So with grace and optimism, 6.5 years ago, we entered this campus as architects to provide a service and an aspirational outcome to help all of you achieve your dreams. Today, with our overwhelming gratitude and great cheer and humble thanks for this incredible and important award, we take our leave as friends and as members of the family of Washington University. architects should always aspire to this outcome. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thanks for indulging me. Over there. Don't drop this.
Signed and dated on the bottom.
Yeah, wonderful. Beautiful.
Congratulations. Yeah, I'd like to have you join me in congratulating the team. And again, that was a great talk, a little more than 2 minutes, but wonderfully said. And I'd like to congratulate again our team. Thank you, Marilia, Richard, for all the work you've done, and Nick and James. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that concludes our program. Again, I want to give all of our award winners hearty congratulations for their work. Thank you. I think I want to take a minute to thank all of the alumni and friends that have visited us virtually during this event as we gather here as a small group today, and hopefully we'll continue to have more in-person events. But I will say that it's always a joy to have so many people from all over the country and around the world join, especially alumni that gather to celebrate our alumni winners for this year and also to support our students into the future. So I want to thank our team and wish everyone out there a good evening. So that concludes our program.